Welcome to the program Life Underlined. Since 1947, when Kashmir was divided between India and Pakistan, the line of division became a hot spot for both armies. And since 1947 to 2003, there was on and off cross-line firings and clashes, and at times both armies went to full-scale war, and Kashmir became a flashpoint in regional political scenario as well as internationally. It became a matter of great concern. During these long years, the development process within the state, along with the political process, were the main casualties of this division and the dispute that followed. However, in 2003, there were some positive developments between India and Pakistan with the ceasefire on this line. And there were certain groups of people on both sides, as well as within India and Pakistan, who continuously and tirelessly worked to work out some kind of peace for people across the line. And in 2008, there was one major breakthrough achieved by the civil society and different individuals and organizations across the line when the trade between two parts of Kashmir was first time opened, and the people, particularly the business community, saw this as one opportunity to build peace in the region. One of the major achievements during this initiative was the joint Chamber of Commerce that was set between the people from both sides. And since then, this trade is continued despite some very sensitive periods and despite some breakups between India and Pakistan. One person who has been instrumental in all these developments, particularly in the development of trade and in the development of joint Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Zulfiqar Abbasi, who is also former head of Azad Kashmir Chamber of Commerce, is with us today in Manchester. And he is over here to attend certain conferences around these issues, and we are very grateful to him that he has taken time to come in our studio and talk about this very important issue. Zulfiqar Abbasi, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for inviting me over here.
And we'll start with the initial question that how this all started, because I think this is one issue that not many people are aware of.
First of all, I think if we go back to the history, you can find that the entire region of Jammu and Kashmir has been historically fed by the region we call the Pakistani Punjab and the current Azad Jammu and Kashmir through the routes of from Rawalpindi through Muzaffarabad to Srinagar, and then from Sialkot to Jammu and onward. So these links were snapped after 47, and both people on both sides of the line of control had to suffer hugely because of that. So it was a growing a realization on both sides that we should try to revive these contacts as soon as possible. So we have been talking with our counterparts in Srinagar and Jammu, with the Srinagar Chamber of Commerce and Jammu Chamber of Commerce, that we should revive these links. So when in 2008 I was the president of Azad Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I led a delegation to Srinagar and then to Jammu, and we found a very warm reception and welcome from our counterparts and the overall business community of Kashmir. We formed this joint Chamber of Commerce Industry. During those days, there was a major development in Kashmir that on the issue of Amarnath Yatra, there was a sort of an economic embargo on the value of Jammu and Kashmir, and there was differences between Jammu and Kashmir. So first of all, we played a positive role, a constructive role to bring together both the communities from Jammu and Kashmir. We brought them together on a table, and they resolved their differences, and we played as an honest broker or as a mediatory, which was welcomed by both sides. And we thought that this process we should institutionalize this thing, so that since we are starting this LOC trade, there should be some sort of a central body which could facilitate this trade and which could hold dialogue with the government of Pakistan, government of India, and both the state governments on each side of line of control. So that was basically the idea behind this joint chamber of commerce. And I think it was a big success that this was historically after 47. This is the first ever joint institution which is linking both part of Kashmir. I mean the Azad Jammu and Kashmir and the Jammu and Kashmir on Indian side, Indian administrated Kashmir. And this has become an example for so many other organizations like the students, the academicians, and the lawyers, and the different other communities. They are now thinking on the same lines to build their relations with their counterparts on the other side of the line of control. So this was basically the idea of this.
So when you formed this joint chamber of commerce and the trade started, so what exactly been traded? What are the major items that people take from this side to other, another side to here? Is that growing, and what is the nature of that trade?
Actually, when this process started, it started in result of a meeting between the President of Pakistan, the then President Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, and the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in Washington. They asked us to submit a list of items which can be traded between the two parts of Kashmir, and we provided a long list of around 300 items. Unfortunately, most of the items were cut down, and the list was limited only to 21 items. But even at that time, we were realizing that this list is not viable enough for a sustainable trade in the long run. But we saw that on the other hand, it's a window of opportunity, and we should try to utilize it. And with the passage of time, we will try to enhance it, and we'll try to enhance the scope of items, adding more items into this list. So that's what we are doing ever since this started. This trade took off. The major reason was that the government of Pakistan invited comments from Chamber of Commerce from all the 4 provinces of Pakistan, and all of them said that this item should be deleted, this item should be deleted, this part should be deleted, and that part should be deleted. So end of the day, we were left with only 21 items. So those 21 items were started, and that that trade was going fairly well, and it went well for the next 2 years. But unfortunately, after that, some of the items which were hot selling, they were banned by one side or another. First, they were banned. Some of the items were banned by the Indian side, and then some of the items were banned from Pakistani side. Regardless of the fact that there was in the basic agreement, there was a formula that any item, any deletion or addition of item shall be after the mutual consultation from both sides. There was a joint working group comprising officials of the government of Pakistan and India. So they were supposed to review that list, and only then. But unilaterally both sides did, which was, I think, very unfair.
And Chamber was not consulted?
No, neither the Chamber was consulted, nor even the state governments. And Now that list of items has been reduced to 15 or 16 only, and most of the items are the fresh fruits and vegetables, and some of the very pricey
Did they give
items.
any reason that why they want to, certain articles to be stopped or?
Not really. Without assigning any reason and without any prior notice, even there were some loaded trucks, they were sent back, and then this was a tit for tat policy. Anything which was done from the Indian side was reciprocated by the Pakistani side then, and how it was done. And then there were so many other problems, like there was the infrastructure problem. First of all, this is a barter trade. Now, in this 21st century, you cannot imagine a
So there is no
barter
cash
trade.
involvement.
No, there is no cash or transaction-based trade. So, if we send oranges, they send us carpets. So we sell carpet and we recover our money. So this is how it's going on. So what we need to do is that we should have to have, first of all, extend this list of items, and along with that, we'll have to improve the infrastructure, and we'll have to give the banking facility to the Kashmiri traders on both sides. And that again is important, because this trade right now is limited only to the divided families who have their presence on both sides. So they send one item from here, and their counterpart or their family members send something back as a barter. So that's how they recover their money. So this trade is not relevant as far as a common Kashmiri citizen or a common Kashmiri person is concerned. So we think that if banking facility is provided, then any Kashmiri can enter into this business, because he'll open an LC and he'll import a consignment from the other part. This is one thing. Second thing, which is an objection from the government of India and Pakistan, that some of the items have been spilling over beyond the boundaries of Kashmir into India and into Pakistan, and they say that since it's a zero-rated trade, so our custom duty revenue, custom duties, and our revenue is affected due to that. And we say, okay, fine. First of all, we can devise some strategy or some sort of arrangement for that. That if these items spill over into India or into Pakistan, then you can impose a certain amount of tax on that. And secondly, if it doesn't suit you, and if you want to restrict us for whatever is produced or manufactured within the state of Jammu and Kashmir, then you should allow us to trade those items which are produced or manufactured into the state of Jammu and Kashmir. They should be traded across the LOC, and there should be no ban on those items. So if anything is needed in Srinagar, that should be allowed to be, imported from Zulfiqar. This import word probably is not the appropriate word, but since in order to comprehend the issue. And similarly, if anything is required at Mirpur, we should be allowed to take it from Jammu or from Poonch. So this is another option, that how we can make this trade more meaningful and viable and feasible.
And is there any platform where you can share these ideas with the Indians and Pakistani state representatives to improve this mechanism and the nature of the trade, quality of the trade? Is there any platform?
The platform is the Joint Chamber of Commerce. That's why we formed this chamber. And
is that are there representatives from India and Pakistan in that chamber?
No, not from India and Pakistan. This is basically the Jammu and Kashmir Joint Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we have our representative from all across the line of control and from all over the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So we have representation from Jammu.
So how you communicate your ideas or concerns or suggestions to India?
We have been meeting either in Srinagar or in Jammu and unfortunately, I was refused Indian visa twice when I was the founder president of this joint chamber of commerce and industry. So then we had to shift our meeting to Dubai, and once we met in Colombo, and once we met in Istanbul, and once we met in maybe in Bangkok. So that's how we have been carrying on this chamber of commerce. That's why that there have been a lot of impediments and bottlenecks in the way of this chamber, but we are quite, I think, determined that we have formed this institution and we will take it forward because this is the only way that we can bring both communities together and we can make this LOC irrelevant as much as possible.
So make it like the new cliche is the line of commerce.
Yeah, exactly. That has been this word has been used by Dr. Manmohan Singh, and then AJK Prime Minister Sardar Aziz Kamal Khan also said that we are determined to make a line of control as line of commerce. So, but unfortunately, their actions have not been matched with their whatever they have talked.
So what stage the whole process is at now at this stage?
Right now,
if there are these issues,
yeah.
And it seems that these issues there is no mechanism to convey these issues to Indian and Pakistani states. So what is next? What are the possibilities?
Right now, we talked to the government of Pakistan on this issue, and they said that since the LOC trade is a small component of a bigger India-Pakistan dialogue, so we are looking forward that if there is progress on rest of the issues, this issue will also progress.
Mm-hmm.
So after the installation of new government in Pakistan, there has been many good news for India, and Pakistan is seriously considering to accord MFN status to India. And they have given a lot of their concessions, and all the major political parties in Pakistan they agree on this one item that we should have good and cordial relations with India, and we should have mutual trade, and we should give MFN status to India. And that was how this was possible. The thing is that the Kashmiris were the first ones who used to oppose this, that you cannot give MFN status to India since India is having its repression and repressive policies in Jammu and Kashmir, and they are not letting us meet to each other and to have trade with each other. So when this LOC trade was opened, so then the Kashmiris felt that okay, if this opportunity has been provided to us now, morally they felt it appropriate not to oppose MFN status to India. So in a way, the Kashmiri community now also supports it that India and Pakistan should have their normal trade relationship. But at the same time, we also feel that the India-Pakistan trade should not be at the cost of the LOC trade.
Mm-hmm.
LOC trade should go as it is going right now, and India-Pakistan should have their trade as usual, the way they want.
The way things are now, how this what our sort of size or scale of trade at the moment is going on, what impacts it is having on people across the line, not only business community, but like you explained, that is between divided families, but generally how it is affecting people's general perception of the issue and relationship across the line.
I think overall this LOC trade has been very meager in volume, and from 2008 till now, the entire volume has been less than $500 million. But its symbolic significance has been tremendous. And the communities living on the line of control have been the biggest beneficiary. No doubt that the traders have been the biggest beneficiary, but they were followed by the community living on the line of control. And though they are the people who have been living under a crossfire for the last 6 decades, and they could not raise their children, they could not send them to schools, their women could not go out to fetch water, or they could not cultivate their field because of the crossfire and things like that. So instead of those bullets, now the trucks loaded with commodities, they are coming and going and getting across. And those people who are living on the line of control, they found opportunities to load the trucks and unload them, and to involve in the clearing business and to involve in the transportation business, and the side, the trickle down effect of this activity has been passed to those people. So overall, this has been, we have been doing this trade through the two routes. One at the Chakoti Uri sector in Muzaffarabad, and on the Punch sector it's on Titri Note and Rawalakot. And on those both of these points, a huge population, I think almost 500 people at one side and 500 people at the other point, they have been getting employment and jobs, and they have been working there, and they have been taking care of their families, and they come there, they have their day long labors and things like that, and earning a handsome amount of money and going back to their family in the evening. So overall, its impact have been very good. Then, since the financial interests have been involving into this, so many of the people who were previously engaged in militancy, they also joined this trade, and that was again something very welcoming. That the militancy is on the decline and the trade is on the rise. So that was something which was really very important, and this should have been appreciated from both sides. But unfortunately, I don't know why that the subsequent actions, probably on the insistence of the powerful lobbies, the business lobbies from Indian Chambers of Commerce, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce, and similarly there were some pressures from the Federation of Pakistan Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and might be they came into play, and some of the items were banned from one side and then from the other side. But we are quite confident. Now we have again contacted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Commerce and the Federal Board of Revenue in Islamabad. And day before yesterday, I received a letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they have invited us to submit a fresh list of items so that they could discuss it with their counterparts and they could expand the scope of items. So this is something very positive. It also shows that the government of Pakistan is fully interested to not to take this ahead, but to extend the scope of this business as well. So this is something I think very
are the commodities that are being bartered at the moment, are they homegrown and home produced? Locally produced in Kashmir, or there are some products which are coming from India to Pakistan and then go through this line?
I think some of the commodities were the Kashmiri origin, but since there was no ban of Indian or Pakistani origin items. For example, there was an item called Peshawari Chappal. It was also included in the trade. So meaning thereby that the items of Pakistan origin or items of Indian origin were not banned. And we should also try to understand the importance of this trade. That since for the last 67 years, India has been progressing, Pakistan has been progressing. The four provinces of Pakistan have been progressing very well. If I explain it more, Karachi has been doing business through its ports, Karachi port and the port custom with the entire world. Quetta has been doing business with Iran and Afghanistan. Punjab has been doing business with Indian Punjab, and similarly KPK having business with Afghanistan and Central Asian states. Only the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which is a landlocked state, we have been restricted to do any business outside. And even within this region, no investment has ever come. And this area was red marked that it's a disputed territory, its political future is undetermined. So we were kept waiting, and our economic development was kept hostage till the final resolution of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. Now nobody is seeing that. That the final resolution is nowhere at sight. But our educated youth, our population, our businessmen, our people, they are putting this question that what is our future? So in that context, we requested the government of Pakistan and India. When I led the delegation. We met the governor of J&K and the chief ministers and their ministers and rest of the bureaucracy. We talked with them that you need to be a bit lenient on us Kashmiris, because we are 6-7 decades behind you. We are lagging much behind as compared to the business communities of India and Pakistan. We have never been provided these opportunities, and now if any items are coming from India or any items are coming from Pakistan, since the volume is so meager, the infrastructure facilities are so poor that a truck carrying more than 10 ton weight cannot cross the bridge at Uri or Chakandabagh. So having all these things in mind, there is no immediate threat for India or Pakistan that this will become another Afghan transit trade or something like that. So it's a very sort of a small initiative which was strictly between the two communities, and that has been going very smoothly.
Obviously there are some political forces across the line whose main focus is on self-determination or independence of state, or going with India or Pakistan, and they initially kind of criticized this initiative, that this is to diffuse the political struggle and this is to divert the struggle and this will not work and all that. And now when this opportunity narrows, does that not give them more ammunition and more kind of confidence that look, we told you it won't work, and they don't want us to have proper relationship, so there is only one way that just rise against them. So is that not, don't they, do these things are not discussed, or these issues not raised?
You're absolutely right here. This is what we were afraid of, and this is what is turning out now. When this trade is diminishing slowly and gradually, intentionally or intentionally from both sides of India and Pakistan, it's not being facilitated. Those elements, whom we want to marginalize, who were the militants or the radical elements, we want to have it as an alternate, that let us start trade so that this emotional situation dissipates, and we create a better and enabling environment where in the near future both sides could sit together and talk on more complicated and more complex issues. It was the first step towards that. But now when this step is failing, you are very correct that people who were against this trade, now they are getting strength, and now they say that aren't we saying that this is a temporary sort of thing, and this may not sustain, and India and Pakistan are not serious enough to give you some opportunity. And that is being done at a time when the trade liberalization and trade enhancement between India and Pakistan is being discussed, and they are discussing that let us minimize the negative list and let us enhance our mutual trade, their bilateral trade. And at the same time, our 21 list item is being reduced to 15 and 14. So this is something very, very significant for us, that is it a message for us that this window is slowly and gradually is going to close down, and the business between India and Pakistan will only be carried out through Wagah and Atari or through Karachi and Mumbai. So this is something. We as a Kashmiri, we feel that the Kashmiris should also be given equal right of trade and access to each other and their basic rights, because trade and business and investment, we feel that this is our basic right, basic human right, and we should be given that right. So we feel that this is an appropriate time that this LOC trade should be considered as a part of India-Pakistan greater dialogue for their trade liberalization.
And what about these recent incidents across the line where obviously some soldiers were died as well, and some civilians as well, and obviously, like usual, both parties blame each other for starting it. But how that is affecting the common life on the line, and this trade particularly.
I think since 2003, the ceasefire was holding, and that was highly welcoming for particularly the people living overall in AJK, but particularly on the line of control. But this unfortunate situation has created once again a very disappointing situation for the LOC traders, but more particularly for those people who are living on the line of control. Whenever there is a crossfire, their life gets under a great misery. They cannot get out of their house, they cannot fetch water, they cannot take care of their animals and their livestock and things like that. Even our children cannot go to school, so they are the most vulnerable for that crossfire. So that has been very unfortunate. But the good thing is that the backdoor diplomacy between India and Pakistan has shown some results, and that ceasefire has again been restored. We highly welcome it, and we request both India and Pakistan to hold this ceasefire, and so that the Kashmiris could live in peace, and those people who have been suffering for the last 65-70 years, they have every right to live in peace. Like the people of India and Pakistan.
Okay, and now we come to here in Britain, diaspora, where you came for this some very important workshops organized by Conciliation Resource and Kashmir Development Foundation. And what you think that the role diaspora can play in trade as well as in general peace and development there?
I think diaspora has a very critical role to play and very significant role to play, as we see all over the world. That if you look at the modern China or modern Malaysia or even in India, this is the expatriate Chinese who brought their investment back along with the expertise and exposures and their experiences, and that's what was followed by the rest of the investors into China. Same happened in Malaysia, same happened in India, and in so many other countries. So we think that this Kashmiri diaspora is the most resourceful component of our society, and they can play a leading role in order to transform our society. Because they have a huge exposure outside, they have expertise, they are running big businesses over here, and they have been in touch with international community here in UK. So as far as the business is concerned, they have a very, very relevant experience. But beside that, the diaspora has I think a huge role to play vis-a-vis the overall situation in Kashmir, because the cultural touch between our communities here and living in back home is very critical. So if they go back along with their experiences and with their investment, that can transform our society, and that can create a huge impetus for our economy. Economic activity can be accelerated through that, and investment can be brought into some very strategic sort of sectors like energy, hydropower generation, tourism, mines and minerals, livestock, poultry, and so many other, human resource development, information technology. So there are many sectors which can be a win-win situation for the diaspora and for the local Kashmiri community. Our youngsters, the boys and girls who are educated, they don't find their good jobs over there. And if these people sitting here, if they can employ them, for example, the IT graduates, if they can make some software programming over there and then they can send here, they will be paid less money as compared to some engineer which is doing something over here, and in return your manufacturing cost will be reduced, but that software can easily be marketed from here, because these are the potential marketeers of our products. So there are a lot of opportunities like that. In hydropower sector, both India and Pakistan are energy deficient countries, and we have a power potential of more than 40,000 megawatt. And the entire
so 40,000 megawatt in Azad Kashmir, or in just the whole of the state?
No, the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir. And in Azad Kashmir, we have in the first stage the identified potential is around 10,000 megawatt. So 10,000 megawatt means it's almost 10 times of our current budget. So we can have an investment of 30 to 40 billion US dollars we are looking for in order to develop this potential. And this is a highly significant sector because this is a renewable energy and environmental friendly energy which is available at a very negligible cost. After debt repayment, a hydel electricity unit costs you almost 1 rupee or 1.5 rupee, not more than that. So it means, and right now the tariff of electricity is I think around 18 to 20 rupees per unit in Pakistan and Azad Kashmir. So these are the sectors where we can seek investment from here. We have the projects for 1 megawatt up to 1,000 megawatt. You can pick any project of your which suits you according to the size of your investment, and you can have local joint ventures. Recently, few years back, Azad Kashmir Bank was formed, so there is a likelihood for the overseas Kashmiris who can invest in that bank and they can have shareholding within that bank. Government is all open to float shares for the Kashmiri community. So there are so many other areas, the road, network, communication, and physical infrastructure.
Well, one major concern, which obviously was raised in today's workshops as well, that the corruption in the state machinery, that does not help foreign investors, and the lack of infrastructure. So how these impediments can be kind of overcome?
I think the governance overall in the third world countries is a problem, and we are also a part of that. So we are no exception to that. But having said this, it doesn't mean that we just say this and we just lie our hands and we sit, stay back. We'll have to seriously address this issue. And with all due, respect, our political elite will have to seriously give it a serious thought to it. For the last so many years, we have been listening to our politicians, and most of our politics is being carried out on non-issues. Our politicians have been telling people that we are doing politics not for the social development or not for the economic development. We are only, our efforts are only dedicated for the freedom of Jammu and Kashmir. But practically and factually speaking, the government of AJ&K has never had any serious role in the freedom struggle. I mean, they were responsible for the betterment of their people, and unfortunately, they haven't done well into that. So
how they can be made accountable? How they can be, convinced or made accountable that you have to deliver on certain issues, otherwise people will ask questions. How that can be brought?
I think that day is not far off when they'll be held accountable and they'll be dragged out if they do not mend their ways, because there is a growing awareness among the people overall, but particularly in the educated youth, because in our country one positive thing is that we have a free media, a very dynamic and vibrant media, which gives a lot of awareness to the people for their rights. This is something which is giving us hope. And then our civil society is also now rising. So these are some things which are giving a new hope that politicians shall be held accountable by the people. I mean, recent election phenomena you must have observed in Pakistan that the people of Pakistan, they rejected Pakistan People's Party because of their performance, regardless of the fact that there was a massive negative campaign against the Muslim League by the Pakistan People's Party, but people didn't accept that. We should realize that that a common voter in Pakistan and Azad Kashmir is now more aware, is now more educated, and is more enlightened. So this, I think, is the high time for our politicians to learn a lesson from the recent elections in Pakistan, that they will be eliminated if they will not address the real agenda of the people. And the real agenda of the people is that we have massive corruption, we have massive unemployment, we have abject poverty, there is no way for the livelihood for a common man. I mean, nepotism and corruption and everything, everywhere. Our criminal justice system, our social justice system is unfortunately highly inefficient. One of the factors that why investment is not getting into AJK is again, I would say that is our this inefficient justice system. We'll have to improve that, because if anybody with his or her investment goes from the diaspora into AJK, and if he is mishandled by some of his or her partner, or from any government department, or from any bank, I mean, he should be given justice, and if that justice is available, then this process may go on. Otherwise, I mean, that failure, that story, I mean, we will disseminate everywhere and nobody would go again there.
So there, amongst the diaspora, particularly in Britain, a huge number comes from Mirpur, and as a result of that, Mirpur is a kind of major market as well.
True.
And within that diaspora, there are a lot of families whose other members are across the divide, and they, some of those ladies who are in their 80s and early 90s or late 70s, and they were very hopeful that after this beginning of families going across, they will get opportunity as well, and many of them still could not get the opportunity, and some of those in a position that if they go from here, they will probably from Mirpur they won't be able to reach to the current points. So what are opportunities for opening a point between Jammu and Mirpur, whichever is the common place?
I think it's a very important question, and we have been stressing both the governments that more routes should be opened for the crossing of the people as well as for the trade. For example, there is a very short route between Cham Panawala, and it comes from Jammu into Bhimber and then to Mirpur, and the whole travel is I think just over an hour, less than 2 hours. So this is something, and so then there is one point in Kotli, I don't remember right now its name, but that again is a very, very short route. So we must open these routes, because this tragedy is going on for the last almost 7 decades now, and one of our generation has passed away having their dreams, burying their dreams with them, and another, the second generation is now coming up. So I think this is the high time that we should learn that we cannot separate people for an unlimited period of time. The history has told us the lesson that the Eastern Europe, that Germany, the breakup of Russia, and so many other examples in the recent history, that you cannot enslave people for too long. So I think this is a historic lesson, and we should all learn. Everybody in India and Pakistan should learn this. Otherwise, I think there will be more destruction, and there will be more militancy and radicalization and this fundamentalism, all these things. These are all plagues, and we should try to get rid of them. And in order to do that, we'll have to take up some serious steps to address these issues. Unfortunately, right now, as we see that India is heading towards their next election in the near future, so any meaningful breakthrough, it doesn't look, very predictable in the near future. But anyhow, whenever next year the government is installed in Delhi, I think there might be some breakthrough between India and Pakistan. But we must not forget that the issue of Kashmir still remains a central issue, and we'll have to give a new hope to the people of, not only hope, but some substantive steps to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, so that their suffering and their repression is reduced. For example, the withdrawal of AFSPA, the Armed Forces Special Power Act, is, I think, one thing which must immediately be demanded by the government of Pakistan and be met by the government of India. And similarly, the armies from the major towns and cities should be pulled back, and that can give sort of relief to the people living in India. So these sort of steps, I think, should be bargained against the MFN status which we are talking right now.
Okay, one last question. That you've been on the other side, and you have been interacting with a lot of people from different walks of life. Is this desire to have more frequent and free movement and more trade and more cultural connections across the line, is that desire is on the other side as well? Is it as strong as on this side?
I think it is 10 times more on the other side, because that community has been living under repression from Indian side. And when we went to Srinagar, people used to come on the road, they used to touch the bonnets of our vehicles, and then they used to touch to their eyes, and they used to say that this is the Pakistani dust, and we value it more than the Holy Kaaba and things like that. And that was understandable, that our relationship, our religious relevance with them and things like that. But when we went to Jammu and we met different communities, we met our Sikh brothers, they were crying while embracing us and hugging us, and said that they still remember their friends and their family members and their worship places and their schools and education institutions and everything. Their memories are as fresh as of yesterday. So it's a strong desire everywhere that this line of control should be eliminated, and the people of the state of Jammu and Kashmir should be given an opportunity to meet together, to work together, to trade among them, and to give them this basic right of expressing their wishes that how they want to live with each other.
Thank you very much, Zulfiqar.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's very kind of you. And that's all time we had for today's program. The situation is complex. There are so many problems. There are so many issues which need addressing. However, the hope is there, and the struggle is there. And with we can only have hope that things will get better and people will start getting on with each other, across the borders, across the boundaries, across the line. That is the only way forward.